Hello and welcome. And this is Asake Online. If you move around the city these days, you can notice the tall grass. If it's at night, the darkness, one goes a kaya, no street lights. But what is worrying is that, there seems to be little that is done until people start complaining. But it's not only the grass, it's, the sewage, the poor roads, and all these kind of things, the litter that is everywhere. And you ask yourself, do we have people who are called city fathers who wake up in the morning and make sure that the city is clean, is smart? Anyone who comes in is attracted to this city, and they can think of investing and permanently locating to the city of Bulawayo. Today in the program, we'll be talking to Tonderai Shoko, who is a founding member of Keep Bulawayo Clean. We want to find out from him what motivated him to, start Keep Bulawayo Clean, and the efforts that they are making to make sure that our city looks very clean, and also, at least kuyakhanya ukuthi ayisikho eguswini kulabantu abahlala edorobheni labo Bulawayo. Mr. Shoko, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Mr. Shoko, tell us what led you to start this initiative, Keep Bulawayo Clean.
Okay, thank you, Zenzele. This initiative, the history and the beginning goes back to when I was in primary school. We used to cycle to school with my young brothers. We used to cycle to Hillside Primary School. We used to enjoy cycling to school because the cycling pathways were always clean. The grass was always cut. You'll never come across litter. So it was always refreshing to cycle to school, to come into town on the weekends, go to the park. It was something you look forward to. But as we got older, we noticed that the culture was changing. People would easily litter in front of you without thinking twice. Sat down with my two young brothers, Willard and Dr. Tonderai Shoko. Then we asked ourselves, how can we remind people that Bulawayo was once one of the cleanest cities in the world? You could actually have relatives and friends looking forward to coming to Bulawayo because of it being clean. So we looked around, and what we had smartphones, access to social media. That was a starting point for us. So we said, guys, let's use our gadgets to remind people. Next step, how do we do that? We have to do something simple and something that we'll do on a daily basis, which will actually become a culture, a lifestyle. So the idea now came up of us posting pictures, putting litter in bins. So from then, that's how Keep Bulawayo Clean started. So we told ourselves, how do we keep track and plan forward? Then the idea came up of counting days, so that we can always look back to each day and see how we've done, and looking forward how best we can plan ahead.
Yeah, you mentioned the issue. Two important issues: the issue of cycling paths, and also the park. I grew up in Plumtree, and occasionally, whenever there was a function, or if we sold enough goats, we would come to town. But I remember going to Centenary Park back then. There was a section which had a lot of birds and
Yes.
different species of birds. Would you have an idea what happened to those birds?
With time, because of I can say the poor maintenance of the Centenary Park, naturally the birds will fly away. It won't be a good habitat for them. And if it's not controlled, people will even start hunting down those birds.
Shire again.
Yes, for fun, you have to control such areas, because now you'll have situations whereby you get young guys going to the park specifically to say, I hit a unique bird. So naturally they'll fly away and find a better place to be.
I saw a tweet by Paul Hubbard, and he was talking about a zoo that was once in Bulawayo with
Yes.
camels and all these kind of things, and I was saying, what has happened to all those things? But you also mentioned the issue of cycle paths.
Yes.
How do you cycle in this long grass like this?
Currently you can't cycle. It's actually dangerous to cycle. With the tall grass, you can actually get mugged. So this really needs to be addressed. And obviously, with time, if it's not cut, we've got issues of even snakes biting people. It's something that needs to be addressed. And it's not a good reflection to the city.
Yeah, you've been doing this for over the years now, if not quite a while. And what has been the reaction? I mean, do people, when they see you doing something, do they come and help or bapong with lava?
Okay, I can say to the toughest period was the first 50 days of Keep Bulawayo Clean. The resistance was, I'll say it was scary. You would get people asking you, why are you doing this? What are you benefiting from this? What are you trying to prove? Do you now work for the council? Is someone paying you to do this? So now you would try and always explain yourself. Say, no, we're doing this for the city. You should also be part of this. Let's do this together. The resistance was actually bad. I actually remember a friend calling us from abroad actually saying, Kanti, why are you wasting your data? Even reply me on WhatsApp, you don't reply me, but I see you posting about picking up my paper. You see. So that was the toughest time. But with time now, when we do some cleanups, I'm happy to say that some people actually come join us. People who will be walking past or driving past or even cycling past. They stop over, get gloves, bin liners, we clean together. Our last big cleanup was around Kamo Primary School. We did the cleanup with the Kamo headmaster, Mr. Ile, and Kamo staff, and some parents. When we got to Harare Road, the people who do their business outside there, selling their wares and all, actually came running saying, can we please join? We've been looking for bin liners, we need gloves. This is where we do our business, and we also want to keep the area clean. So it was a positive response, I must say.
I've talked to people about littering and all these kind of issues, and they'll tell you, and all. Have you ever tried to engage maybe city council to say, guys, can we have a bin in every corner? We've seen sometimes, different companies, donating bins. Why is there so much littering around?
Okay, on the issue of bins, it comes back to the culture that we now have. You will have someone littering practically in front of a bin. And I always say, if there's no bin in the vicinity, why don't you hold on to that litter until you find a bin? It's just like if you're going to drive for a long distance, don't throw the litter out of your car. Keep it in your car until you find what? A bin or when you arrive home. So it's an issue of changing our mindsets that you just don't have to litter because there's no bin. And on the bins issue, we have tried to engage some corporates who actually use bins, who get their raw materials in bins. We've asked them to give us the bins. We've actually put out some bins, and it's our plan in the long run to actually have a bin in every corner of the city. And when I say every corner of the city, we actually want to end up having 3 bins in every corner of the city. These 3 bins will actually indicate that this is for raw litter, this is for plastics, and this is for paper. We want to encourage people to separate their litter.
Yeah, I was talking to someone over the weekend who was telling me there is a guy who makes, pots, mama, using Coca-Cola cans.
Yes.
And we are saying, just collect these Coca-Cola cans, and this guy, if you makes 2 for you, he makes 1 for himself, and he sells. And I said to myself, So why can't we have a central point where abantu just, or even emakoneni, you write, I mean, write with the cans, and these guys can pick that. What, I mean, from your own point of view, what do you think our city is doing enough to actually have these issues addressed?
We need to have a bigger drive into this, because you find before we even started this initiative, there's been recyclers already. There are people who are actually picking up plastic bottles for recycling purposes. There are people who've been getting these cans and smelting them and making the pots, but they are not visible. We need to get more information sent out to people in the city and to encourage people to separate their litter, and we should have more collection points of recyclable materials.
Then there's also the issue of culture.
Yes.
It starts at a young age. People should, be taught with the school, ngalahli paper pansi, uyapanishwa, and that you gradually go with. Do you think this culture is really happening, even at whether it's schools or family level, and going up?
Sadly to say, it's actually it's eroded over years. We need to get more education done in schools, because the primary level of education is when you grasp a lot. And if we get that instilled in children, we'll have a better population tomorrow. They're more educated. Yes.
So your initiative is not only by keeping the city clean. I've seen you planting trees and all those kind of things. Tell us about some of the other activities that you do.
Okay, besides keeping the city clean, we want to encourage people to plant trees. Because if you notice, we never speak of planting trees, but we chop them a lot. So in the long run, there'll be no trees left. And again, we always speak of climate change. That has to be addressed. We need to plant as many trees as possible. If you go to Pumula South towards Kami, it's now a desert, should I say. All trees have been chopped down. Because of electricity issues, obviously people look for firewood. But in as much as they're chopping trees, we're not planting as much. So that's why we're encouraging people to plant trees. Yes.
So the activity that you do is something that someone can do every day. But how do you? I mean, what plan do you have in place to make it? Let me say, a movement that every day a certain sector of society to clean the city, the next, and we make it a daily process.
We have a weekly plan, monthly plan, but unfortunately because of COVID, we are now limited. But we had set dates. Like we know on Monday, we're cleaning in Area A, Area B, Area C. So it was well planned. We actually started planned cleanings with a group called Do It For The Kids. Every Sunday we'll meet at 2 p.m. by the City Hall. We'd actually clean within the City Hall. If you notice, there is a park within the City Hall and people sit there, have their lunch or drinks, then they leave the litter there, which is a very bad reflection on the city. Because if you say you're coming to the city of Bulawayo, your starting point is the City Hall. So that's why we decided to clean up there.
I don't know. I've seen sometimes, I know one or two people have been fined by EMA for littering, but I've always thought that is the duty of municipal police to actually make sure that people don't litter. And if they find people behlezi besidla, they make sure that bathatha amaphepha nalana lama lunch tin or whatever that they would have used to be lahlela amabhimu. But is there enough supervision or enforcement of these laws when it comes to bylaws, when it comes to littering?
If there are any laws that I'm not privy to, they are not being effected well. And I really hope that the municipal police will become more active and more visible. There was a time, as I was telling you, when you would actually be afraid or shy to litter because there's a municipal police in the vicinity. But I'm sure if they're more empowered to actually arrest people for littering, we'll end up getting somewhere.
And also, I think what you're saying is also when the place is clean, you get embarrassed later.
Yes,
But now
naturally.
trees,
Yes.
and not only trees but grass, long grass, and then like kind. People tend to think that
you feel at home literally.
Yeah.
Mm.
There is also this habit of men urinating in town, emkotweni, ehlahleni, emabhokelo store. How can that?
I was actually coming to that. It's sad because now we don't have anyone watching over such areas, because we all know there are hotspots where you get your combis or drop-off points. There's lots of activity there. People actually spend their whole day there. There are no toilets, so the people urinate there, unfortunately. But if we get municipal police being at these checkpoints, we will get people adhering to the laws.
But is it also not the issue of having public toilets in strategic places? 6th Avenue was turned into a bus terminus or whatever because of this, a Godin project, which turned out to be a great deal of nothing. And with all those combis there and people getting there, there is no toilet on 6th Avenue.
It's a health hazard, actually.
Yeah.
I think that needs, in fact, I don't think it actually needs to be addressed, because people always, 6th Avenue is actually the busiest street in the city in terms of foot traffic and vehicle traffic. And there are no toilets there, and people definitely need to relieve themselves. So that needs to be addressed. I don't know whether it's going to be decentralized or toilets are going to be erected. Another option maybe is to have those movable toilets to be set up there, because it's something we can't avoid.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But there's also the issue of bottle stores. You find that people are drinking in front of a bottle store and there are no public toilets.
At bottle stores, this one I think has to go to the police to make sure that people don't actually drink outside. You buy and then you drive off or you walk off. Because the minute you start drinking there, you'll definitely need to use the toilet. And you notice that if you walk past all bottle stores, it's actually smelling of urine and it's not good.
Yeah, if you are in Bulawayo, if you look at in the bootleggers, there is a watering hole. There is that, is it Cases, Rainbow. Those are the places that I always pass by. But quite a number of bottle stores where you find actually it's busy. It's now a bottle store, a drinking spot. People are watching cars, people are changing money, and there are no toilets.
That's an issue that needs to be seriously addressed by the police. They have to make sure that these activities don't happen. As individuals, we may speak about it, but if the police are not firm on the ground, it will actually keep flourishing. We'll have more of these spots around the city.
So going forward, what are your plans for your organization? What are some of the activities that you have planned and you're going to be implementing?
Going forward, we need to have a bigger drive. We need to reach out to every neighborhood in the city. We need to reach out to every school. We need to reach out to every institution to actually be proud of being in the city of Bulawayo, to make sure that not only are they cleaning their environment, they're also making sure that they're educating the next person. So that's what we want to encourage people to do. We want to have a situation where we are having other people starting cleanups. It must be spontaneous. It should not be centered around us. No, it would be good to see that people are actually aware that the city was once the cleanest in the world, and we should be proud of it. And we can regain that status together.
Mr. Shoko, thank you very much for your time talking about the city. You know what disappoints me a lot is that I only thought maybe it is only animals that go extinct. But I've discovered that even places can go extinct. You know, we had parks. You know, and these parks, if you go to the Veve, North End, even Kubo Hillside, Ilanda, were places that were designated for parks, and they've disappeared. They are now extinct. Sekuyizihlahla, sekuliganga, abantu sebelima umumbu, and no one cares about those places. Yet, those were spaces which some people call the lungs of the city. You know, it's green, it breathes fresh air. Ungazowile stress endlini, you go and stay there, and just nje uyehlala la khona bana relax, you know, with your family, kids play, but those places are no longer there.
You know, it's therapeutic to go into a park, to hear the birds, to be under a tree, to be walking on the lawn. It's highly therapeutic. What I actually did for my birthday, I went to Pumula South. There is a park, but it's been turned into Insim. But I spoke to some young gentlemen there, Mr. Joshua Mbezi, and some other youths who are trying to do tree planting there. They're doing very well. They plant trees every Friday. They said, no, you guys, I need to come and support your cause. Let's go to the park and plant 100 trees. And let's make sure that we watch over these trees, zikula. And then with time, we learn. So if we have more youths in the community doing such for their neighborhoods, these parks can be revived. And it will be easier for someone else to say, I want to be part of it when they see there's been some groundwork done. Not to say, there's a bush, guys, let's go start. You need someone to start it up.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite important that while we are expecting that the city would, or the city fathers will help us in these issues, but also I guess it takes interest in the community. We need people like you who can actually say, me now, I'll look over such a place. I mean, I'll be the caretaker, you know,
Yes.
of this park, and I'll get young people to come and clean, slash, plant trees, make the place nice. You know, I know with Amalonez in these days, if you don't have a borehole, you can't plant trees. But why not, you know, our space, make sure that because we'll end up being, you know, a dump, you know, every place will be a dump site because people just throw litter everywhere.
True. What you actually said is true. It's unfortunate that we have people who want to always put the blame on the council. We should remember that the city does not belong to the councillors. The city belongs to residents. So as residents, we should compliment what the council is doing. They are doing a great job, but we can't leave it to them. You can't litter saying, the council is a wee dope. Play your part, and the council will play its part. It's teamwork. We have to work together.
Okay, once again, thank you very much for this you know, interesting conversation about our environment and keeping our city clean. Today in the program, I was talking to Tonderai Shoko, who is the founding member of Keep Bulawayo Clean. And the idea is to talk about the environment, talk about what they do to make sure that our environment looks clean. Because these days, it's so stressing. You know, walking around and you find that with Kolama paper, there are potholes, street lights are not working. You try and take a walk to a place that was supposed to be a park, and there is literally no park. You can't even find a stone, you know, and it's not easy. It's not always good to you know, to come across a snake or you know, taking a walk. And I was saying to Shoko before I started this program that I normally jog in the morning, but these days I'm so scared to jog on 5 because it's so, you know, scary. The grass is so tall that you can even be mugged. So I hope that our community and our city fathers are going to address this, and let's get the Bulawayo that we know, the place that we're proud to be called, you know, citizens of Bulawayo. But National Park. My name is Zenzele Ndebele. Till we meet again in other programs, have a good day.